Why, are you serious? Woo! The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The sound came again. Woo! Jack sat up and returned on his light. He put on his glasses. Then he grabbed the flashlight up from his table and shone it out the window. A white snowy owl was standing on the tree branch. Woo! The owl said again. Its large yellow eyes looked right into Jack's. What does he want? Jack wonders. Is he a sign? Like the rabbit and the gazelle? A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the Mediterranean for their last two adventures. Woo! Wait a second, Jack said to the owl. I'll get Annie. Jack's sister Annie always seemed to know what birds and animals were saying. Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. Jack shook her head as she stirred. What? She said. Come to my room, whispered Jack. I think Morgan slept under the sign. In a split second, Annie was out of bed. She hurried with Jack to his room. Jack led her to the window. The snowy owl was still there. Woo! Said the owl. Then he raised his white wings and took off into the night. He wants us to go to the woods, said Annie. That's what I thought, said Jack. Meet you downstairs after we get dressed. Now. He says go now. Right now, said Annie. We'll have to wear our pajamas. I have to put on my sneakers, said Jack. Okay, I'll put on mine too. Meet you downstairs, said Annie. Jack put on his sneakers. He threw his notebook into his backpack. Then he grabbed his flashlight and tiptoed downstairs. Annie was waiting at the front door. They silently slipped outside together. The night air was warm. Moss danced around the porch light. I feel weird, said Jack. I'm going back to put some real clothes. You can't, said Annie. The owl said, right now. She jumped off the porch and headed across the dark yard. Jack groaned. How did Annie know exactly what the owl said? He wondered. Still, he didn't want to be left behind, so he took off after her. The moon lit their way as they ran down the street. When they entered the Frog Crane woods, Jack turned on his flashlight. The bead of light showed the shadows and swaying branches. Jack and Annie stepped between the trees. They sat close together. Woo! Jack jumped in fear. It's just a white owl, said Annie. She's somewhere nearby. The woods are creepy, said Jack. Yeah, said Annie. In the dark, it doesn't even feel like our woods. Suddenly, the owl flapped near them. Yikes, said Annie. Jack shone his flashlight on the white bird as it rose into the sky. The owl landed on the tree branch right next to the Meditreahouse. And there was Morgan Le Fay, the enchantress librarian. Her long white hair gleamed in the beam of Jack's flashlight. Hello, Morgan called softly in a soothing voice. Climb up. Jack used his flashlight to find the rope ladder. Then he and Annie climbed up into the treehouse. Morgan was holding 3 scrolls. Each one held the answer to an ancient riddle that Jack and Annie had already solved. You have joined the ocean, the Wild West, and Africa to find the answers to these 3 riddles, said Morgan. Ready for another journey? Yes, said Jack and Annie together. Morgan pulled a fourth scroll from the folds of her robe. She handed it to Annie. After we solve this riddle, will we become Master Librarians? Asked Annie. And help you gather books through time and space? Space? Said Jack. Almost, said Morgan. Before Jack could ask what she meant, Morgan pulled out a book and gave it to him. For your research, she said. Jack and Annie looked at the book's title, Adventure in the Arctic. Oh wow, the Arctic, said Annie. The Arctic, said Jack. He turned to Morgan. Are you serious? Indeed I am, she said, and you must hurry. I wish we could go there, said Annie, pointing at the cover. Wait a minute, we'll freeze to death, said Jack. Fear not, said Morgan. I am sending something to meet you. The wind started to blow. Meet us? Who? Said Jack. Woo! Said the snowy owl. Before Morgan could answer, the treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. 2. The howling. The air was crisp and cold. Jack and Annie shivered. They looked out the window at the dark gray sky. The treehouse was underground. There were no trees and no houses, only an endless layer of ice and snow. Morgan and the owl were gone. Read the riddle, said Annie, her teeth chattering. They unrolled the scroll. He read. I cover what's real and hide what's true, but sometimes I bring out the courage in you. What am I? I'd better write it down, said Jack, shivering. He pulled out his notebook and copied the riddle. Then he opened the book. He found a picture of a barren white field. He read aloud. The Arctic tundra is a treeless plain. During the dark winter, it is covered with snow and ice. In early spring, snow falls. But the sky begins to get lighter. During the summer season, the snow and ice melt and the sun shines 24 hours a day. It must be early spring now, said Jack. There's snow, but the sky is a little light. He turned the page. There was a picture of a man wearing a hood coat with fur trim. Look at the sky, said Jack. He showed Annie the picture. We need the scouts, said Annie. We need the scouts, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. Listen to this. He read aloud. The seal hunter wears sealskin clothing to protect him from icy winds. Before modern times, native people of the Arctic lived by hunting seals, caribou, polar bears, and whales. Jack took out his notebook and he wrote, The Arctic. Seal hunters wear sealskin. He was too cold to write anymore. He clutched his pack against his chest and blew it on his fingers. He wished he were back home in bed. Morgan says someone was coming to meet us, said Annie. If they don't come soon, we'll freeze to death, said Jack. It's getting darker and colder. Shh! Listen, said Annie. A howling sound came from the distance. Then more howling sounds and more. What's that? Said Jack. They looked out the window. Snow was falling now. It was hard to see. The howling grew louder. It was mixed with yelping and yelping noises. Jack and Annie saw dark shapes coming through the woods. No, they seemed to be running toward the treehouse. Wolves, said Annie. Great. That's all we need, said Jack. We are freezing, and a pack of wolves is coming for us. Jack put Annie into the corner of the treehouse. They huddled close together. The howling getting louder and louder. It sounded as if the wolves were circling the treehouse. They went and yelped. Jack couldn't stand it any longer. He grabbed the art book. Maybe this can help us, he said. He searched for a picture of wolves. Oh, hi, Annie said. Jack looked up. He caught his breath. A man was looking through the treehouse window. His face was surrounded by fur. It was the seal hunter from the Arctic book. 3. Mush! Did you come with the wolves? Asked Annie. The seal hunter looked puzzled. Did Morgan send you to us? Said Jack. I had a dream, the man said. You were in it. You need help. Annie smiled. Morgan sounds strange sometimes, she said. We came in Morgan's treehouse. It flies through time. Oh, bother, said Jack. Who will believe that? The seal hunter smiled as if he was not surprised at all. We don't need help, said Jack. We are freezing. The seal hunter nodded. Then he left the window. He returned a moment later with 2 small parkas like his own. They were made of heavy dog skins with fur-trimmed hooves. He passed one to Jack and one to Annie. Thanks, said Jack and Annie. They put the parkas on. Hooray, said Annie. It's warm. Yeah, said Jack. They're made of sealskin. Poor seals, said Annie. Don't think about it, said Jack. He pulled his hood up. His head and upper body was very snug now. Only his legs, hands, and feet were still breathing. Oh, thanks, said Annie. John looked up. The seal hunter was giving Annie a pair of fur pants. Then he handed a pair to Jack. Thanks, said Jack. He quickly pulled the pants over his pajamas. Next, the seal hunter gave each of them a pair of fur boots and mittens. Jack took off his sneakers and put on the boots. He wedged his frozen fingers into the warm mittens. I have a quick question, Jack said to the seal hunter. Do you know the answer to this riddle? He opened this book and read. I cover what's real and hide what's true, but sometimes I bring out the courage in you. What am I? The seal hunter shook his head. Come, he said to Jack and Annie. Then he disappeared from the window. What about those wolves out there? Jack called. But the seal hunter didn't answer. Jack grabbed the Arctic book and looked for a picture of the seal. Jack grabbed the Arctic book and looked for a picture of the seal hunter. When Jack found the picture, he smiled. The seal hunter was standing beside a dog sled. Jack read. In cold weather, the seal hunter traveled by a dog sled. Siberian huskies often howl like wolves. A lead dog controls the others. So sled runners are sometimes made of frozen fish rolled up in sealskin. Hey Annie, they're not wolves, said Jack. There, he looked up. Annie was gone. Jack threw the book and notebook into his pack, but he was so fat in his furry claws. Then the backpack wouldn't fit. Jack loosened the shoulder straps and tried to put the backpack on again. It fit. Jack looked at the small window. That would be a tight fit too. He went out head first and barely squeezed through. Jack fell onto the snowy ground. The snow was still drifting down. The air was misty white. Jack heard barking and howling. He moved carefully toward the noise. At first, he couldn't see the dog sled, but when he got closer, he counted 9 Siberian Huskies. They had thick fur, big heads, and pointy ears. The lead dog barked at him. Jack stopped. "He's telling you to climb on," said Annie. She was standing on the back of the sled. The Sioux hunter stood next to her in the snow. Jack jumped onto the sled next to Annie. The Sioux hunter cracked a long whip. "Much!" she shouted. The huskies dashed up in a whirl of snow. Above them flew the snowy owl. 4. Snow house. The dog sled skimmed silently over the frozen tundra. The Sioux hunter ran alongside it. Sometimes he cracked his whip against the ice. The snowdrifts looked like giant white sculptures. As the sun slipped behind the frozen hills, and a full orange moon rose in the sky. The moonlight lit a small, round igloo in front of them. The dog slowed, then stopped. Jack set off the sled. Annie went to help unhitch the dogs. Jack took his book out and read about igloos. The word igloo means house in the language of native Arctic people. The house is built with blocks of snow. Dry snow is good wall material because it keeps in the heat. The temperature inside an igloo can be 65 degrees, warmer than the temperature outside. Jack took out his notebook. He pulled off his mitten just long enough to write. Igloo means house. "Come on, Jack," said Annie. She and the Sioux hunter were waiting for him in front of the igloo. The dogs were leashed together outside. Jack hurried to join them. The hunter pushed the giant animal skins covering the entrance. They stepped inside. A bare candle burned brightly. Shadows danced on walls of ice and snow. Jack and Annie stood on a fur-covered platform. They watched as the Sioux hunter moved about. First, he lit a small stove. Then he slipped outside. He came back with a snowball and chunks of frozen meat. He put the snowball in a pot over the stove. Then he added the meat. "What's he making?" said Annie. Jack put out his book and found a picture of the hunter cooking. He and Annie read the rest silently. There was a time when nearly all of the Arctic people's food and clothing and tools came from Arctic animals, especially the seal. Nearly every part of the seal could be eaten. Lamps for fuel was seal fat. Clothing was made from sealskin, and knives and needles were carved from seal bones. "He must be boiling seal meat," said Jack. "The poor seals," said Annie. The Sioux hunter looked up. "They are not poor," he said. "They help us because they know we would die without them." "Oh," said Annie. "In return, we always thank the animal spirits," said the Sioux hunter. "How do you do that?" said Jack. "We have many special ceremonies," said the Sioux hunter. He reached under a fur-covered platform and took out 2 wooden masks. Soon, there will be a ceremony to honor the spirit of the polar bear, he said. I carved these masks for the ceremony. Polar bears, said Danny. Yes, said the hunter, just as the seal has given us many gifts. So, here's the polar bear. Like what? Said Jack. Long ago, the polar bear taught us how to live in the ice and snow, said the seal hunter. Taught you? Said Jack. I mean, can you give us some facts? The seal hunter smiled. Yes, he said. A polar bear catches a seal when the seal comes up to breathe through a hole in the ice. The oldest seal hunters watched the polar bear and learned. This is how my father taught me to hunt seal, as his father taught him. That's a good fact, said Jack. The very first of my people learned to make eagles from polar bears, said the hunter. Polar bears build snow houses by digging caves in the drifts. Another good fact, said Jack. Sometimes the polar bear can even teach people to fly, said the seal hunter. That's an amazing fact, said Annie. Jack smiled. The rest sounded like true facts, he said. But I know that's pretend. The hunter just laughed to turn back to his cooking. That's why he wasn't surprised to hear about the tree house, Jack thought. If he believes polar bear can fly, he probably would believe anything. The seal hunter lifted the chunks of raw seal out of his pot. He dropped it into a wooden bucket and gave it to Annie. Let's beat the dog, he said. Oh boy, said Annie. She followed the hunter outside, swinging the bucket. Jack quickly threw his notebook and the Arctic book into his pack. He started to follow them. Then his gaze fell on the 2 bear masks. He picked them up to get a better look. Each was carved in the shape of a polar bear's face with a blunt nose and rounded ears. There were 2 holes for eyes and a strap to hold it on your head. Suddenly, House split the air. The dogs were barking and growling, and squealed. Are the dogs attacking her? John wondered. Annie! Still holding the bear mask, Jack trotted out of the igloo. But you're it! It! The dogs were barking wildly as 2 small creatures swam in the moonlight. Polar bear babies, cried Annie. One roly-poly cub leaped onto the other. Then they both rolled through the snow. Hi, little bears, Annie called. The cute cubs jumped up and shook themselves like wet puppies. Then they scampered toward Annie, who rushed to greet them. Hi, hi, hi! Hi, hi, hi! She called. Wait! Shouted Jack. Where's their mother? He looked around for the mother bear, but she was nowhere in sight. Maybe they're orphans, he thought. John looked back at Annie. She was wrestling with the little bears in the snow. She was laughing so hard that she couldn't stand. Jack started laughing too. He carefully put the bear mask into his pack. Then he ran to join Annie. She was running with the cubs across the snowy tundra. One of them raced to her, tagged her, then raced away. Annie ran after the bear and tagged him back. You're it, she said. Jack and Annie and the other cub joined them. Soon, Jack and Annie and the two cubs were all chasing each other over the moldy snow. They ran until the two cubs fell down ahead of them. The cubs lay perfectly still. Panting, Jack and Annie stared at them. Are they hurt? Annie wondered out loud. Jack and Annie went to the cubs. Then, just as they leaned down to see if they were all right, the cubs jumped up. They pushed Jack and Annie over and scampered away. They were pretending, said Jack. He laughed. Jack and Annie charged after the cubs. They ran over the white tundra until they came to the frozen sea. Jack looked around. We're pretty far from the igloo. I don't hear the huskies anymore, he said. Maybe we should go back. In a minute, said Annie. Look! The bear cubs had scooted up a snowbank. They were on their backs, sliding down the bank onto the ice-covered sea. Jack and Annie laughed. It's like sledding, said Annie. Let's try it. Okay, said Jack. But then we have to go back. Jack followed Annie up the snowbank. She clutched his pet in his arms. Annie lay on her back. She looked as she slid down the ice. Jack followed her. Watch out below, she shouted. The little bears were sliding at the bottom of the snowbank. One gently whacked Jack in the face with a furry paw, and she lay down. I'm tired too, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. Let's rest for just a minute. Jack and Annie looked up at the orange moon as they lay beside the cubs. All they could hear was wind and the soft breathing of the cubs. That was fun, said Annie. It was, said Jack. But we'd better head back to the igloo. The sea hunter's probably looking for us. Plus, we have to solve the riddle. Jack rolled onto his side and tried to stand. Crack! Oh, he said. He went back down onto his knees. I think we're on thin ice. What do you mean? Said Annie. She started to stand. Another crack rang out. Oh, she said. She carefully lay back down. The polar bear cubs moved closer to Jack and Annie. They made little crying sounds. Jack wanted to cry too, but he took a deep breath. Let's see what our book says, he said. He reached into his pack for the Arctic book. He took the map out first and handed it to Annie. I took this from the igloo by mistake, he said. As he started to reach for his Arctic book, he heard the loudest crack of all. Crack! We're not even moving and the ice is cracking, said Annie. Just then, there was a new sound, a low snorting sound. It came from the top of the snowbank, about 50 feet away. John looked up. Staring at them was a giant polar bear. The polar bear mother, whispered